Greetings, people of the internet. This is Scott with Serkworks Art Lab. I am not broadcasting from the underground lair today because I'm doing a little bit of construction. Nothing that you will probably see in the next video when I'm back. We're just putting in some new flooring and stuff like that. But I wanted to put out a video anyway, and I've been dying to kind of talk about Star Wars: The Last Jedi. So I thought I could do that. I thought I would just draw Poe and maybe BB-8 and talk about it a little bit. I'm not the best at talking while I'm drawing, but I'll do what I can. And if anyone, I know this is sort of impromptu, but if anyone wants to pop in the chat, I will try to glance up and see what people are talking about. If anyone is around, and if you have seen Star Wars: The Last Jedi, there will be spoilers. I don't really know how to talk too much about it. I usually don't like to do too many spoilers on this channel, but I don't know. I've been wanting to talk about the movie, so yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So I'm just setting up a couple little things right now before I start sketching. I want to get the chat where I can kind of see it and everything, just in case somebody does jump in. All right, let's see. Yeah, so I don't know exactly what my I've been mulling this over in my head, trying to people have been asking me what I thought about the movie and everything, and just so everyone knows, I was so looking forward to this movie, and huge Star Wars fan. I was around when the original first came out, and I've just been a fan ever since. It's funny when people first see films, it's like, oh, this is the best thing ever, and then as I guess as time goes by, people's opinion change. It's kind of like the revisionist history or something, I guess. I can kind of understand that a little bit, because when I first saw, like, when Phantom Menace first came out, it was like I wanted to like it. And it's almost like I told myself I liked it just because I wanted to like it so bad. But honestly, I didn't like it. But it seems like a lot of the people that I talk to just love, lately I've been hearing some more criticisms about The Last Jedi. And I definitely have criticisms. But I really did want to like it. I don't want to be one of those guys that just comes, on the internet and just blasts the hell out of a movie just for the sake of doing that. I mean, there's people on there that'll say, oh, this is the worst movie ever. It's worse than The Room and Birdemic and Manuel's Hands of Fate and Troll 2 combined and all that. And it's all hyperbole, and it's just to get it's basically just to get more views and things on your YouTube videos. But so I don't want to be that guy, but I just had a lot of problems, and I mean, there are things that I loved about the movie, absolutely loved. There are things that I absolutely hated, and then this is the weird thing. There are these things that I just don't know how I feel even after, because I saw it opening day, the first showing that I could get tickets to. I mean, it was like Thursday at like 7 o'clock, and so I mean, before that I avoided, I've pretty much avoided all spoilers and everything like that. I was off the internet for like a week or so. Yeah, this is where I'm getting to that part where it's hard for me to concentrate on drawing and talking at the same time. And now I'll get it down in a minute. So yeah, this video is gonna be a lot different than the ones I usually do, but it's fun to kind of do these live streams, and I haven't done one in a very long time. So I usually don't do like Star Wars or anything like that, but it just seemed like a good opportunity to do that. Um, so anyway, yeah. So, and what I mean about there are things that I'm just not sure about. There are things that happen in the movie that I mean, when I saw it when it first happened, I mean, it's like I cheered, and I was like, and then a second later, I'm like, oh wait, I don't know how I feel about that. So this is, you know, this movie affects is really affecting me, and I don't know if that's like a good thing or a bad thing as far as, you know, a movie to have that kind of effect. But and I didn't have that with Force Awakens. I know there's some people that don't like Force Awakens. Hey Daniel, how's it going? um, yeah, this is there are going to be spoilers for Last Jedi, so hopefully you've seen it. Um, so yeah, where was I? What was I talking about? Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll get back to that. But let's see. Yeah, I'm still trying to kind of formulate my opinion, but I need to do a second viewing of the movie. So, and I know my son wants to see it. My girlfriend still hasn't seen it, so I will go back. But even after I saw it, and this shows you how torn I am. It was almost like I didn't want to. I didn't like. It wasn't like rushing out to see it again, even though there were things I wanted to kind of revisit and see if I had a different opinion. It was kind of like I just had this weird feeling like, oh my God, I don't know if Star Wars is Star Wars for me anymore. And so I don't know, but there was a lot of stuff I really liked. But I don't know where I should really start as far as, you know, my thoughts on it. But oh yeah, so I was talking about The Force Awakens. So I did really love The Force Awakens, and some people say, you know, it's just a remake of, you know, Star Wars A New Hope. I don't really agree with that. I mean, there are similarities. I think there are a lot of differences, but to me, I think especially after coming off the prequels, it's what I needed, because it felt like Star Wars. And I definitely give this new give The Last Jedi props for going in different directions. And I agree, and I always said, you know, we kind of needed some similarity in like The Force Awakens, and now we can kind of go in different directions. But having said that, what directions they go in, that really depends. And some people are really going to like it. I think there's a lot of differing opinions about this. Some people just absolutely loved it, say it, you know, it's the best Star Wars movie ever. I'm not in that camp. I mean, and I'll probably give you, before I go, I'll probably give you sort of a ranking, just so you can kind of see where my headspace is, where I come from as far as my rankings of the Star Wars movie, for what it's worth. And everyone's got their own favorites. And I mean, I don't care. I mean, if you love the prequels or whatever, I mean, certain people were born during that time, and that was their first, you know, their first introduction to Star Wars. So, I mean, everyone's allowed to like whatever they want. I went into this movie thinking that this is going to be it. This is going to be better than Empire, and this is going to, you know, because Disney was so, you know, so happy with it, obviously, that they gave Rian Johnson a whole trilogy to direct. So obviously they're thrilled with it. But now, to me, after seeing it, it's like, I mean, and there are great things. There are a lot of great things, but it's not a perfect movie. It's not where, I mean, I would say Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, the originals, I mean, not necessarily some of the changes that were made in special editions, but to me, those are now I hesitate to, I was going to say perfect films. They're not perfect films, but they're, I don't know, they don't seem, there are nitpicky things that I can say about those movies, but I don't know that I would want to change a whole lot. You know, there are things that I could say, oh no, that's kind of funny that that happened or whatever. But I wouldn't want to go back and change it. Where this one, there's definitely things that I just didn't I wasn't sure about. So so yeah, boy. I don't know. I guess I could sort of start from the beginning. And I'm gonna be going all over the place because this is live, and it's not really rehearsed or anything like that. And I'm trying to talk while drawing and all that stuff. But so the opening crawl, I loved it, and I didn't know what to expect from that opening crawl because it takes place right after Force Awakens. So I mean, there's not a whole lot they can I was wondering how they're going to do it because there's not a lot that they could bring us up to speed on because we were just there. But I think they did a real good job with the opening crawl. I think they're doing better with that since like even Return of the Jedi, the crawl was not great, and then in the prequels, they weren't that great either, except for I think Revenge of the Sith opening crawl. I think that's the one where it's just like war, and I don't know, that kind of drew me in. But so I like the opening crawl, the opening sequence. I loved that. I loved Poe Dameron. One of the things I should talk about is just the humor. That's one of those things that I was like, oh, this is, and it got to me. I'm sitting there laughing. There's some funny stuff in there. But at the same time, I'm like, are they going too far with this? The whole, hailing General Hux, Poe, and that's funny because that also, I mean, it draws back to kind of when we saw him on Jakku when he first met, I don't know if he met him before, but Kylo Ren and the whole thing with I can't hear you through the mask and all that. I did like that. So. And that was funny too, but I don't know, man. General Hux, that character, and I love that actor. I don't know if you've ever seen Ex Machina with him and Oscar Isaacs, who just happen to be drawing right now. He's a great actor, but I don't know that character. I don't know if it's just very, I don't know, very Nazi Hitlerish. I guess that's what they're going for, but it's just, and maybe it's the fact because he seems younger and everything, but that other. The other, I was going to say Imperial guy, but First Order guy, the commander or whatever, that they had on the bridge. I mean, I love that guy, man. He reminded me of like the guys from the Death Star and everything, and on Empire and everything. But I don't know, Hux just seems a little over the top the way he's played, but just always kind of yelling and just I don't know. I didn't really dig him in Force Awakens, and I didn't really dig him here. But anyway, but it was kind of funny, and it was that was humorous, and there's a lot of great humor in the movie. But some of it was just like, I don't know. Some of it seemed out of place. But you kind of, I guess, as a director, you kind of got to make your own mark. And this. So the direction that they're going, that's part of what I'm not sure about. And this is the weird thing to me. And I don't know exactly how they do these movies. I assume that they have some sort of plan of what's going to happen with these characters. That's what I originally assumed. That obviously each director is going to write their own story, but I figured they had an end goal in mind, and maybe they do, and it just seems like that would make sense. But it seems like it's kind of like, oh, we just wrote Force Awakens and ended it, and then we'll just figure out what happens later. And when we pass it off to another director, things that may have seemed like they were set up for certain characters and everything, or just either abandoned or like, I don't want to do anything with that, or maybe it's fan reaction that they're reacting to or whatever. But there's just a lot of things. And it's not that I necessarily dislike some of the decisions, but it just seems like they're red herrings or they just totally decided, well, we're going to do this, but we're going a different direction. So, for instance, with Rey's parents, I mean, I like the idea that she's kind of a nobody. I like the idea that, you know, anyone can, you know, can have the Force, or can, I mean, that the Force kind of chooses who, I don't know how it works, but you know, who is Force sensitive or whatever. It's not something that's like a royalty thing, like you need to be a Skywalker or whatever. I would have been fine if Rey was a Skywalker. I was perfectly fine with her being just, you know, just a nobody. That's what I liked about her character in general, is that she's, you know, even although I don't like the prequel, I like the fact that Anakin was sort of a slave. I like the idea of sort of downtrodden people that kind of rise to the occasion or whatever. Now, obviously, you know, she has the Force sort of on her side, and she's Force sensitive and all that stuff. So, I mean, that's definitely, you know, definitely something. But I like the idea that she kind of came from nothing. But in the same respect, I don't know that that's really what they set out to do, because, I mean, unless they're just toying with us, which I don't like the idea of doing that. But like, for instance, I mean, there are lines in Force Awakens like, who's the girl? And then just conveniently go away from that and leave you hanging like there's some importance, like they know who she is, but it's not, but we're not letting you into it, you know, letting you know who it is yet. I mean, that's just kind of leading the audience along. I don't like that idea. If that's all she is, I mean, people are going to formulate their own opinions. People are going to say, you don't have to say, oh, who's the girl, for people to think, oh, she's probably a Skywalker, or maybe she's, you know, Obi-Wan's grandchild, or whatever particular theory you like, or she was created by, you know, the Emperor, or whatever. There, you know, but to go as far as to bring that, and they did that like a couple times, like who's the girl, and you know, a girl, and all the, you know, from the, you know, Snoke and all that stuff. It just felt like I just did not like that angle. So that's one thing. Same thing with Snoke. Again, I'm just going to preface again, spoilers, you know, but I was perfectly fine with that scene where Snoke dies and everything. But and I assume there'll be books and things that'll go more into who Snoke was and everything. And I don't know. I think I was fine with them just like killing them off, but we got no answers as far as who Snoke was. And you can make the argument that, well, we didn't really know who the Emperor was. He kind of just was there and was a bad guy and all that stuff. But I don't. To me, it's different, because he said that he was there to watch the, you know, rise and fall of the Empire, and this guy's been around for that long. So where was he before? Where was he during the original trilogy? If I mean, did he just? I just don't know. I mean, it just seems like you know, it seems like a lot for them to just say, well, it's not that important to me. You know, maybe to you it doesn't matter, you know, but it seems even more than the Emperor. I was perfectly fine not really knowing the Emperor's backstory, and then eventually we did in the prequels and everything. But you know, I was that I didn't have a problem with so much, but just the Snoke thing. And I wasn't, you know, too crazy. I thought Snoke was great in this movie and everything. Some of the, I don't know, these are like nitpicky things, and a lot of people, I realize I'm in the minority, but I don't know, the throne, and I always thought like throne rooms were kind of weird, because if you're all powerful and if you have the whole empire at your command, I don't know, I would have like this kick-ass throne room with like, you know, a nice comfy chair instead of these big metallic chairs, like, you know, same thing with like Game of Thrones. They're sitting on, you know, although they don't always sit on it, it's more for show, I think. They know the actual I don't know what they call that throne, that with all the swords and everything. But, you know, it's so bare. There's really nothing other than him and the guards. And I don't know. You think if you're going to invite somebody into a throne room, you'd have maybe offer them a drink. You got a little bar there, something, some creature comforts there. But no, you're kind of not rule the galaxy yet, but you're pretty powerful, and you've just kind of got this vast throne room with really nothing in it. And it was cool because it was different with all the red and everything, and I love the battle scenes. But that's just a nitpicky thing. So, but I'm just kind of throwing out all these different things that I felt. But that death scene was awesome. I love that. But and I, a little. I don't know. Again, we get nitpicky, but the gold robe, I don't know. It just seemed kind of, I guess that's contrary to what I was just talking about. I guess if you were, super powerful, you'd want an all gold robe or something like that. But, and again, what else are you going to do? You don't want it to be exactly like the Emperor or whatever. But anyway, so I was happy with that. I wish, and I think it would have made that death even more powerful if we did know a little more about Snoke than they gave us. But I did love that scene. I love how all that played out. As far as going back to, I guess, again, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but kind of the opening scene. I love the opening scene. I liked everything with, I forgot her name, but Rose's sister and that sacrifice that she made and everything. And that whole scene was great, and the whole thing with Poe, and you really got to see what a great fighter he was. And obviously, I really like that character. That's one of the reasons why I'm drawing him. So I love getting to see a little more about what a great fighter he was. And there were some nitpicky things, but I did love that sequence. And then, then we get the whole scene, and I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. I think it is, most people some people don't mind it, but most people, it seems like it's pretty universal as far as the whole Canto Bight scene and Finn and Rose's storyline and everything. And I think it had potential. I just don't think that it didn't necessarily go the way I would have liked. And there were certain things that I think toned down a little bit. It may have worked better, or things deleted from that. I mean, I like the idea. I always love, I love Jabba's palace, and I love the cantina, and I liked Maz's castle and those type of things. So I like seeing those creatures, and I loved a lot of those creatures were really cool. And I have to give it a second viewing to kind of take all that in, because there's so much going on. But and I made this criticism when I went out, and since then I've heard other people make the same thing. But it seemed very much like Earth, only I'm going to say futuristic. I know Star Wars is in the past, not in the future, but very like, oh, we've got slot machines, but they're not really slot machines. Oh, we've got roulette tables and crap tables, but they're not really roulette tables and crap tables. They're slightly different. And for an alien society to have those same kind of games, only slightly, I mean, it just doesn't, to me, that doesn't make sense. So it reminded me of, that whole scene reminded me of the prequels, specifically Attack of the Clones, which is probably my least favorite Star Wars movie. It reminded me of Dexter's Diner, that 50s diner in Attack of the Clones, where it's like their 50s was, or whatever decade there, it was exactly like ours. It just I did not like that. Only they've got robot servers and things like that, or droid servers. So that the whole thing just seemed very much like the prequels, a lot of the costume design. And I know this is supposed to be, I mean, this again, and this is, everything's up to debate, because some people may have loved this, but I mean, the costumes of like the security guard, which, they're after Finn and Rose because they double parked or something. That was kind of, yeah, there could have been a better reason for that. But anyway, they look like something out of a different movie, either the prequels or some other sci-fi movie. And I realize, you know, you've got to do things differently, and I'm up for that. But again, when you do things differently, not everyone's it's not gonna resonate with everyone, and that just did not resonate with me. And I like the idea. I love the idea of showing that even the good guys may not be, you know, depending on how you look at it, you know, there's people creating weapons for the good guys and the bad guys. And, you know, I thought the whole animal rights thing was a little heavy handed. I don't know, that whole scene. I think they could have done something similar, but, you know, I don't know what off the top of my head, but that, you know, that whole scene I didn't like. And I love Finn's character, but I think when creating these characters, it just seems like they thought about Force Awakens, and then they're like, well, we don't know what we're going to do with them afterwards. And that's really what it seemed like. Oh, we got to give Finn something to do. And to me, what they should give him to do is he's a former stormtrooper. I always thought that it would be cool if there's sort of this groundswell of, because we learned from Finn, you know, how he sort of became a stormtrooper. He was taken from his family and everything, and trained since a kid. And there's got to be other stormtroopers like him that want to get out and want to defect, and then maybe look to Finn, and they hear these stories about Finn and think of him as a hero. And maybe that could be something that could change the tide if he gets enough of these first order stormtroopers that kind of sympathize with him and want to get away from the first order and are willing to join with Finn, and Finn can kind of be the way they rally. To me, that makes more sense for that character. And, you know, maybe it's possible that they actually still do that. I don't know, but it seems like they don't know what to do with that character. So, and I love that character. He's very, you know, John Boyega is very charismatic. I loved him in Force Awakens. In this, there was, you know, there's certain things I loved about him in this, but just that storyline, and it didn't work. I mean, what they were trying to accomplish didn't work. I mean, in some ways it kind of did, because it brought in the kid at the end, which that's one of those things that I liked, but I didn't like, and I'm still not sure how I feel about that. But yeah, so there's that. And oh geez, where do I go from here? What else? What haven't we talked about? So yeah, so then we go back to like Rey and Luke, and this is something that I'm really torn with. Let's see, we've got a chat here. I'm just going to read this real quick. Yeah, so the comment addresses that, you know, there's a lot more of the backstory in the comics and the books and things like that, and I like that. I like that if you want to go into those, you can flesh everything out more in those, or the TV series and things like that. But I don't know, it seems like there's certain things that should be addressed in the movies, because there's people like me who, and there's been times where I delved more into the, you know, expanded universe or the comics, and I've got some of the comic books, but I don't keep up on the books and the comics as much as I should. So there's things that I think, like who Snoke is or whatever, or where he came from. I think that's important enough that it should be addressed in the film. I mean, at least touched on. You don't have to go too deep into it. That I think is great for the books. But if we could just kind of let people know, because you know, there's basically, like, say if my mom went and saw it, you know, she's not going to read the books and stuff like that. For people like that, you know, I think you need to address certain things like that in the actual movies. But yeah, but the books that I have read and the comics that I have read, I really, you know, I do like that. I like diving in, but sometimes that can be too much, because it's like, oh, we've got to connect every single one of the dots. And there's certain things that and this is why it's hard to talk about this stuff, because somebody might just say to me, well, you don't need to know where Snoke's from. And I can, in some ways I can understand that, because there's certain things that they have to explain away that I didn't really need to know that, but there's certain things that I think are important enough that they should be addressed in the movies. But so Luke Skywalker and Rey and the whole scene on Ahch-To and everything. And by the way, the Porgs, didn't really mind the Porgs. They didn't have a whole lot of screen time. They kind of happened the way I expected, where it was just sort of, you know, something, some humor for Chewbacca and stuff like that. But I just thought they were going to be an annoyance from him. But I think it was kind of, in some ways, he was kind of annoyed because he's wanting to chow down on some Porg, you know. But but you know, with their cute little eyes and everything. So yeah, I didn't mind the Porgs. They were great, and they didn't really try to overdo it, and they weren't really like central to the plot. They didn't have any kind of force sensitive powers or anything like that. But so yeah, that was good. So with, you know, everyone's waiting to see what's going to happen. And you know, in interviews, Mark Hamill said that he didn't necessarily, I don't know if he said he didn't like what they were doing. It just wasn't what he expected them to do. And in some ways that's good with his character. But with him just throwing it over the shoulder, that lightsaber over the shoulder, just discarding it, that's one of those things that I was like, I laughed at it. I thought it was funny. And then a second later, I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's not what I wanted exactly. Because there's a lot of mystery surrounding that lightsaber. But that wasn't a big deal for me. That was kind of, you know, I was okay with that. So, but, you know, his character in general, that's something I got to think about on the second. I'm not totally sold on it. Some things I really like. I thought his performance was great. Mark Hamill was great. Some of the things I loved. I did like seeing kind of, you know, him kind of surviving on this island, and some of the things are kind of weird with him. Was that a moof? Because we heard in the last one, we heard Han Solo call somebody a moof milker. So I didn't know if maybe that's what it was, but that was kind of weird for a Star Wars movie. But it was funny. So those are things that, you know, I'm okay with them adding, you know, new things to the sort of the lore and everything like that. But you know, there's a lot of humor, and some of it was just like, I don't know, it just was sort of, I don't know if it's out of place or what, but like, what was I going to say? I had a point here. This is the problem when I'm trying to draw and and talk at the same time. I should have jotted down some notes, because I know I'm going to forget a lot of stuff. So, yeah, what was I going to say? It was something about the humor in Last Jedi. I don't know. I'm sure it will come back to me. But so let's see. So yeah. So just I think more or less I like most of the scenes on Ahch-To and everything. I guess it was just like Mark Hamill, it was just different. That's not what I was expecting. But again, maybe that's not a criticism, but that's something I have to kind of think about. And maybe when I see it again, I'm hoping that maybe on a second watch, it'll kind of turn me around. Again, my whole experience with this is just like, I just don't know. I still don't know how I feel about this as far as Star Wars for me. A lot of stuff I loved, a lot of stuff I'm not sure about. So on Ahch-To, Yoda popping up, I was really happy to see Yoda. I liked that he was a puppet. And I liked that he was kind of the way we remembered him from Empire, you know, where he was kind of silly and stuff like that, which I guess would make sense, because why would he not be that silly and everything in the prequels? And then sort of kind of, but then again, I thought that was just sort of to kind of confuse Luke. And now that he knows who Yoda is, maybe he wouldn't be as silly. But it was nice to see that. So I didn't mind that. One thing that did kind of, and this could be nitpicky, but when he took his cane and he whacked Luke on the head, that was another thing that was funny, but I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, because I don't know. It just seems like I don't think Force Ghosts should really be able to like really interact with the physical world, because then what's the difference from being alive and being a Force Ghost? You know, if you can still have Force powers, you can still, you know, and maybe it's very limited things that they can do, but, you know, because if Luke can go back after, you know, now that he's one with the Force, if he can go back and still, you know, have a lightsaber battle with somebody, that just doesn't seem right. And I don't think they would go that far, but just different things like that. I would much, and there are even things like in Jedi that, like when Obi-Wan kind of sat down in the log next to Luke and things, and I don't know if he'd actually touched him or whatever, but the thing I really like is, as far as Force Ghosts, I like, you know, in the beginning when we just heard like in A New Hope, when we heard Obi-Wan's voice. That was cool. And then in the beginning of Empire, where we just see him kind of off in the distance, and Luke's sort of, you know, he's just been attacked and he doesn't know if it's real or whatever, and kind of fading away. I like that kind of Force Ghost, and I think it should sort of be more, and maybe less conversational. I don't know. Again, this is just me and it's nitpicky. Not everyone's going to agree with this, but, you know, I could see giving advice, but it seems like it should be more of a sort of a spirit, like you must go to Dagobah, this and that, and less like, oh, hey, how's it going? We're just hanging out. I'm hanging out with my Force Ghost friend, and we just carry on conversations and everything. Although, I mean, I did like that scene. So it's just one of those things where, you know, maybe it's just me and I got to get used to it. So, so yeah, what else? There's so many things. We haven't really talked about, have we talked about Kylo Ren? I still like the Kylo Ren character. I like that he's sort of conflicted. The whole part about how he's sort of, it's almost like now he's irredeemable. Obviously, I mean, to me, he was pretty much irredeemable because he killed Han Solo. But, you know, where basically Luke and Leia and Rey, everyone's, you know, Rey was saying that she thought that she could, you know, she could help him or he, you know, turn him to the light side. And we kind of thought that was going to go. And that was something I really did like with that whole throne room battle. That was a really cool scene. And I did really like that, where they were fighting what are they called? Praetorian Guards. That was cool. And that was some things that we didn't really get to see, you know, almost like with all these crazy ninja type weapons and sort of lightsaber nunchucks or whatever those different things were. There were all kinds of different weapons that we got to see. So that was kind of cool. But as far as Kylo Ren, you know, they basically, Leia said, I know I finally lost him. And Luke said, I didn't come here to save him, and, you know, all this stuff. And I know we're jumping around and everything, but he did, you know, he didn't kill his mom when he could. He turned off the thing. So I still think, you know, some people might argue this, but I still think there's hope for him. I don't know. To me, I don't know what you would be able to do that would redeem yourself after killing Han Solo, to me. I mean, but as far as story goes, I think there's still a chance that, you know, he can be turned or whatever, but we'll have to see. But they kind of made it clear in the movie that wasn't the case, you know, that he's too far gone now. So we'll have to see how all that plays out. I'm just kind of keep on doodling on this sketch, even though I can probably go to inks now. So I will go ahead and start doing that. And I don't know if I don't know how long I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to take a drink real quick because my mouth's getting. All right. So, oh, what's the wrong tip here? Let me get my little handguard thing so I don't smudge, because especially when I'm trying to do these on live stream, because I don't want to take up. I don't want this thing to go on forever. Sometimes I tend to go fast, and when you go fast on things like this, you tend to smudge and things like that. So, So yeah, I mean, I really like Kylo Ren. I will have to say I miss the mask. I mean, I know Adam Driver's a great actor, and it helps to see that performance. But I'll admit, I kind of, and that's not a major thing, but I do miss that mask. I thought his mask was really cool. At first, when I saw it, I was like, well, it's kind of, it's like Darth Vader, but is it as cool as Darth Vader? And I was like, well, it's not as cool as Darth Vader. But then I don't know, it kind of grew on me. I'm like, yeah, I really do like that mask. So, and I don't know, maybe that we still don't know, like, one thing that wasn't really addressed in the movie was the Knights of Ren. And since J.J. Abrams kind of brought those up in his story, and he's directing the third, because apparently it doesn't, I know that they, I know J.J. Abrams was a producer on this, so it's not like he didn't have any say in it. But I still kind of think that maybe I think J.J. Abrams had different thoughts on what he wanted, he wanted the story to go, or whoever else is writing it. I don't know if Kathleen Kennedy, what she has, I don't know if she has anything to say as far as this. I know she has everything to say as far as the way things go, but if she's actually one of the ones writing, or if she just, has other people write and then say, yeah, I like that, or I don't like that, or whatever. But, I know J.J. Abrams, he collaborated with Rian Johnson on this movie. So I mean, but I just don't think a lot of the decisions that they made were what he originally wanted to do. I think, Rian Johnson said, well, let's just kill off Snoke, and let's, maybe Rey isn't super important. I mean, her lineage isn't really important or whatever. And then they're like, okay, yeah, that could work. That's kind of what it seems like. But I just think that there should be, it seems like they should have had everything, at least the ending, and sort of, the certain beats, kind of maybe not set in stone, but had an idea where they're going, which I just don't know if that's the case. But anyway, so there's the whole Knights of Ren thing, which we didn't learn anything new about. So, and I didn't really, you can't really get too much of a good look, but I think they all had masks and things like that. So who knows if they're going to come back, because now, with Snoke, he had those guards, and those were sort of his, either protectors or his underlings or whatever you want to call them. So Kylo Ren kind of needs his own. So maybe the Knights of Ren come back, and maybe we'll get to see that mask again. I don't know, but it would have to be a new one, because he pretty much smashed it up pretty good. But he smashed things before, so he can just rebuild. But anyway, but no, I like the character. I don't really have too many problems with Kylo Ren. Rey, I love Rey in Force Awakens. I love her in this. There are probably a few things that, I'm not one of these people that thinks she's a Mary Sue, because I think in the Star Wars universe, that's just the way things are. I think if you could say that, you could definitely say Luke was. He was sort of a bush pilot or whatever in his home planet, but just to go in and just, I can fly an X-Wing, and I can do all this stuff, and things just in the Star Wars universe, things just happen naturally to people, and that, to me, that's just really what kind of you can expect. Luke held his own fighting Darth Vader in Empire Strikes Back, and he had really never done hardly anything with a lightsaber prior to that. So that's just the way things are. So I'm not crazy about the criticism that she is a Mary Sue. But anyway, just my opinion. But so I love Rey. I love that character. And yeah, I'm anxious to see how it goes. I'm trying to think if I had any major criticisms with her in this movie. I don't necessarily think so. Let's see, who else? We can talk about Poe, since we're drawing Poe. I liked his character. I really like the fact that we see flaws in these characters. And that goes back to, like, you know, what people are saying about, you know, Mary Sue's and things, but we get to see, you know, and the other thing is, especially, I guess in this, hopefully in this movie puts to bed any sort of this idea of Rey being a Mary Sue, because she was easily kind of tricked by Snoke and everything, and you know, and basically if it wasn't for her sort of kind of teaming up with Kylo Ren for somewhat, you know, a small period of time, you know, she was caught off guard by that. So I don't know. I know. Oh, okay. Let's see. We get some other chats here. Yeah, I mean, that's perfectly, you know, we got a chat that can't get into Star Wars. I mean, everyone's got their own things. I mean, there's certain things that a lot of people like that, you know, like for me, I never really got into the Matrix for whatever reason. I you know, and people love the Matrix, at least the first one. There's some I mean, I don't hate it or anything, but it didn't resonate with me as much as it did a lot of people. I think one of the things that to me was like the special effects, like that whole with, you know, time standing still and thing panning around. I mean, that was one of the earliest usage of that, but everyone was saying it was so sort of groundbreaking. But prior to that, I don't know if anyone remembers, but prior to that, that technique had been used on like a number of commercials. So I was like, well, yeah, I kind of saw that before. It's kind of cool that they're using that as a device in this movie. But, and again, I don't hate the Matrix, but it just wasn't like, didn't mean as much to me as it did a lot of people. So, you know, different people are into different things. That's perfectly fine. But thanks for watching the video anyway, even if you're not a huge Star Wars fan. That means probably you're watching it because of me, which is cool. so I'll just ramble on about stuff you don't care about. But so yeah, I don't know exactly where it was. I think I may have been talking about Poe here. So Poe's character in this, I like the fact that he did a lot of things wrong, and a lot of people suffered, and even, you know, Leia stunned him with the, you know, with the blaster and everything. So yeah, I mean, because you always have those like hot shots in every, you know, all these movies where like, yeah, you're doing things wrong and I know better, and you're, you know, I'm going to show you, I'm going to do things my way and it'll all turn out. And he did that and it did not turn out. He made a big mistake, and I really like that. So, I mean, I thought Poe's character was great. So, and I like, you know, I think he more than any, well, maybe Rey too, but I don't know. I just feel real bad that you know, I didn't really like what they did with Finn, because I love that character so much, because I want to see these characters get better and not sort of, again, I just think that they, right now, I don't think really they know what to do with Finn, because it looks like they're setting him up to maybe be, you know, before it was like, you know, he was, you know, obviously all he cared about was Rey. So obviously he has feelings for Rey, and I don't know if, you know, who knows if they'll end up together. Is it a possibility that maybe Kylo and Rey will end up together? I suppose if you're a fan of the Skywalker line sort of continuing, I guess if they ended up together, then that line would continue, which, you know, I'm all for going a different direction. I definitely think this set of 3 trilogies should be about the Skywalker family. After that, not necessarily, you know. So yeah, I don't know. And it doesn't seem like, it seems like whatever they're going to do, it's probably going to be rushed if there is any kind of a love interest, because I don't know exactly where they're going to go with this. I mean, they, of course, I don't know, in Empire, I mean, you didn't get much between Leia and Han Solo, but in Empire that came on pretty suddenly, that whole relationship, you know, from, you know, we got in the beginning of Empire till the very end, with that classic line of "I love you, I know." That happened really quick, but it seemed to work. I never really like had any criticism. And maybe it's the chemistry between Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford, you know, in those movies, but that seemed to work. So, you know, maybe, you know, whatever they do will work out. But it seems like Finn, you know, kind of worked with Rey, or at least, and maybe it's just a friendship thing. I don't know, but without that connection, it just seems like they don't. To me, and it's like the only thing they know what to do with Finn is that, oh, he was a stormtrooper, and he was also, you know, he also had like janitorial detail or something. So he knows the ship. So we're just going to keep sending it back or to do things like that. And half the time he doesn't really know what he's doing. He's just doing it on there to save somebody or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I still like the idea of Finn being, you know, some sort of a rallying cry for other, you know, getting, you know, converting other people that might, you know, be stormtroopers that want to join the resistance. Or so I don't know. Is it now the rebels again? Now that it's kind of more, it's, I mean, now I guess it can go either way. The term rebel and resistance are similar in a lot of ways. So I guess it just sort of depends. But now that there's so few of them left, maybe they're back to being rebels again. I don't know. But hey, Abe, how's it going? I don't know if this is spoiler heavy. So if you haven't seen Star Wars, I don't know if you have or not, but Last Jedi. Let's see. I'm just reading comments. Hold on. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so Gonzo Gaming TV says that he, you know, people tell him to, you know, stop trying to start the original trilogy because it didn't age well. I don't know if I agree with that it didn't age well. I mean, those special effects and everything were way so far ahead of their time. I mean, sure, there's certain things that you know, like some of the graphics and everything, but I think they've done a real good job of keeping that stuff in, like the old holograms and some of the old little special effects. But I think Lucas is really smart not to do anything I mean, a lot of the stuff just doesn't seem dated. It just seems like it's part of that world. And even now with all the technology that they have, they still, you know, they still throw in, I mean, they didn't add a lot of crazy stuff to the Millennium Falcon. It's still got all the same stuff because that's when that ship was built in that time. And just the fact that it doesn't take place in the future, it takes place in a galaxy far, far away. So their technology advances, and it's created at a whole different, just a different speed as ours. Whereas maybe some things that we have are more advanced than what they have. And obviously we don't have light speed and all that stuff, but just the technology, the way it evolves differently because it started at a different point. And that's why I don't like the things like the Canto Bight scene, because it looks too much like Earth, just like I said, like, oh, we'll just kind of make our slot machines a little different, like they're round. They look more like washing machines or something instead of, you know, big boxes or something. But why a slot machine at all? Why not some other form of gambling that doesn't exist on Earth? You know, I mean, there's certain things like card games and things. I mean, they've alluded to card games in the Star Wars universe, and I think that's fine. I don't know, you know, or maybe we played with something other than cards or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, it's just, yeah, I think Star Wars aged pretty well. I mean, it was, you know, it's it's over 40 years old. So I mean, it's got to be, yeah. No, maybe not exactly, but it's getting there. But yeah, so but I still think it looks great. But maybe that's just me. I mean, that's why some of the time, sometimes when they do make things look just too, make like a lot of the stuff in the prequels, which even seems worse because now when you're going back in time, you're going before, you know, Star Wars. So it doesn't make sense that they would. I mean, I guess they're in a different part of the galaxy. They're in a more advanced part of the galaxy rather than just these outskirt places. So their technology would be a little better. So I guess that can make some sense. And there's a lot of the designs in the prequels that I really did like. I love a lot of like Doug Chiang's like concept designs. I've got all the art of prequels books, and I love them. There's a lot of great stuff there. So I mean, there's some gems and there's some things I do like about the prequels, but all in all, I just think they're, you know, problematic and just not. And you know, I'm an old guy. You know, I was there. I was around when Star Wars first premiered. So that may be why a movie like this, where they're going in different directions, and I do want to see them go in different directions, but it just doesn't mean that it's gonna work for me personally. And I don't know. So I don't know. I'm all over the place. I don't know where. Like when I first said, I'm going to turn this on, because I've been thinking about all this thing. It's harder when it's just me talking, and I know there's people in the chat and stuff, or a few people in the chat, but when it's not like a conversation, it's hard for me to think of like some of the things that, like, oh yeah, this and kind of that kind of thing. And I don't know right now. I don't know how I'm feeling about this drawing, to be personally perfectly honest with you. But oh well, I've already started drawing. I definitely don't like this likeness of Poe. So sometimes that's what happens when you draw live. But you know, it's fun it's nice to just do one of these live streams. So what else haven't we talked about? Okay, so. Here's one of those things. We'll talk about Leia. All right. I kind of knew going in, and this is weird because I heard this and I was avoiding spoilers, but I heard this from Rian Johnson himself, who said something to the effect of, yeah, I think he came out and said that Carrie Fisher does not, you know, that she doesn't die in this movie. And I don't know if that I thought, well, maybe that could be once she got blown out of that spaceship. I thought, well, maybe that he's just saying that, and that was sort of another sort of misdirection, because I know J.J. Abrams does that all the time, where he'll say, oh, it's not Khan. The character that Benedict Cumberbatch plays isn't Khan, and it's Khan. So. Sometimes they just come out and lie to you. So I thought, well, maybe that's how they're gonna end her storyline. And I was like, oh my God. But then, you know, when she kind of uses the Force to kind of float back, and this is one of those things that, like, when it happened, I was like, oh, she's using the Force. We always wanted to say Leia used the Force. And then I'm like, oh, I don't know if I like this. And that so much of that movie to me is like that, where it's not like it's so easy to say, oh, these are the things I like and these are the things I don't like. But then there's things that I just don't know. I don't know if I like them. I mean, I could see certain things, and I'm just so torn about this movie that it's just, you know, coming out of the movie, people are asking me what I thought about it. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I like this movie. I like a lot of things about it, but I definitely didn't have the same reaction that I had with Force Awakens. And, you know, everyone's different. I mean, there's people that did not like Force Awakens and they love this one. And I don't know if if it boils down to just me being growing up and being around in 1977 when the first one came out, and having that feeling of seeing it in the theater and all that, you know, not just, you know, some people's favorite movie is Jedi, and I think that might be because maybe that's the first one they saw, or, you know, that has a lot to do with a lot of things, and that's why I like The Force Awakens, because it felt like Star Wars, and I think there were certain beats and things, and I think they needed to do that. And I mean, I like Force Awakens a lot, so it's high up on my, fairly high up on my list of Star Wars movies. So let me double check here what's going on. They did. Abe says they didn't kill off Chewie. Yeah, I didn't think they would. They gave him a little bit to do. You know, it's still, I don't know. I'm kind of concerned for my favorites from the original trilogy. R2D2 and C3PO, they're in the movie, but it's kind of like they're just sort of sideline characters. Whereas before it just seemed like, I don't know, they seemed like they had more purpose. And now, you know, with R2 hardly being, I mean, I love BB-8, but I would like to see, you know, there's no reason why somebody else can't have a droid. Why can't, you know, I don't know. I mean, Rey sort of had a connection with BB-8, obviously, but BB-8 is Poe's droid. You know, why can't R2 sort of why can't somebody inherit R2 and that be their droid? I mean, I know he's maybe an older model, but I don't know if we see a lot of astromech droids other than, I know we got that other kind of BB droid in this one that was sort of the spy type guy or whatever, I keep wanting to say Imperial, the First Order droid, but yeah, I definitely like to see R2 in action, at least in a, you know, in an X-wing or something, you know, maybe. But I want those characters because they're iconic characters, and I think they should play a bigger role in these movies. I mean, for a long time, I thought that, you know, C3PO and R2D2 were sort of like the thread that tied all this together. I mean, they're basically the first people, or not people, but the first creatures or whatever that we sort of meet in Star Wars, and we follow them, and they meet up with Luke, and it's kind of like we're kind of viewing the story almost through their lens in some ways. And that ended up not really being the case as sort of that trilogy went on. But I don't want to see. I want to see Chewbacca and C3PO and R2D2 have a little more, and, you know, be more invested or have more, not just screen time, but have more to do in this new trilogy. So I don't know if we'll get that or not, but they probably just keep them around just enough to make toys. You know, I mean, just enough to put their images on, you know, T-shirts and all that kind of stuff. So, I'm not sure what you mean. Are they kind of sticking with the novels or making a new ending to the series? I'm not sure what novels you're talking about, Abe. Because to my knowledge, I mean, I know there's sort of I don't know what they're calling it, the new expanded universe or whatever you call it. I know there's all those storylines. I'm just really not liking this. I don't like this version of Poe here. Oh well. I think I'm going to color him in. I think I'll color him in. The only thing is I'm worried because I think this marker needs some dry time. So I don't know. I don't want it to smudge. Maybe I can solve it. Maybe when I actually color it in, it'll start looking a little better. But other than that, as far as novels, I mean, these aren't based off any novels. I know they make novelizations of them as they write the scripts, but I guess I'm maybe not following you. So what else can we talk about? So we were talking about the whole Leia thing, and yeah, I mean, part of me really, I mean, like the fact that we got to see her use the Force and everything, but I just don't know what they're going to do with that character moving forward. Is she just going to live and just not be on screen at all? Maybe, you know, maybe they can you know, just because a lot of times when you have a commander or something like that, you don't necessarily see them. You just get your orders and things like that. So, I mean, they could do that and just not kill her off. But, you know, we've already lost Han. We've already lost Luke. Now, obviously, I think Luke will come back as a Force ghost of some sort. But we, so, I mean, I think, I don't know. I mean, there's some people that said they should recast her, and I don't know about that. I don't think they've never really done like a major like recasting in Star. I'm not sure how I feel about the idea of recasting somebody as Princess Leia. It just, to me, that might take me out of the movie. And I know they don't want to do. I know they don't want to do like the whole CGI thing, and there was some backlash about that in Rogue One. And I thought the effects on that were great. They're not, but the thing is with CGI people, it can't just be. It's like it can't be 99% good, which I think it was about there. It's probably 98%. I mean, but it's got to be 100%. And in certain things I've seen where they can make that work. Like, it's weird because a lot of times where they do the de-aging thing, I think it looks really good. Like when they did Robert Downey Jr. in was it Civil War? I don't remember. But when they de-aged him, looked great. When they de-aged what's his name? Kurt Russell in Guardians looked great. Jeff Bridges and Tron, but that was earlier. It was kind of so-so. But I've seen somewhere it doesn't really take me out of the movie, so I don't know why. You still got a little bit of that uncanny valley, but same thing with Tarkin. But I think Tarkin was an easier sell just because he's got so much more definition in his face, and he's got this really unusual like bone structure and everything. Even though you could tell, well, I could tell. I mean, I knew that. I mean, there's people that watch that and they couldn't tell because some people didn't. Some people don't know enough about Star Wars to know that character was, has been dead for many, many years, and that no, that's not him, or maybe they thought that was used footage or old footage or something. I don't know, but some people, I think people that didn't really know didn't really catch on, but still, it's yeah, I don't know. I think. I can't speak for everyone because a lot of people are really against the fact of using any kind of digital effects to bring Carrie Fisher back. But she was okay with it before she died in Rogue One. So I don't know. You think I think you'd have to do it just minimal if you did it. I don't know. Again, my opinion, I know a lot of people disagree with me, and I understand that, but I'm not sure how I feel about it if they were going to recast. So I don't know what they're going to do, but but anyway, so Rian Johnson said that he, that Carrie Fisher wasn't going to die, and what her fate is just kind of up to whatever J.J. Abrams wants to do with her. And I don't know if that's true, but that's what kind of scares me. It's just like, we're kind of just making this stuff up as we go along. We don't know what and that obviously the idea that the Carrie Fisher issue was not something anyone could have planned on. So that's a little bit of a different story, but I heard somebody mention this, and I totally agree. And there's like this, and so this is like something that I think they could have done. They may have had to use some CGI, but I think they could have done it minimally and maybe not, sort of to the detriment of Carrie Fisher's memory. But I like the idea of like the captain, that whole thing with the captain. Is it Holdo? I think the Laura Dern character. Who, despite looking like she came out of Hunger Games, I know that that was another thing, that there's novels and she's in the novel, and I hear that character is really great. And there's probably some reason to like her fancy dress and like the purple hair and all that kind of stuff. So the look of her was kind of like, it's interesting. I'm sure there's more to it than there, and I'll just be okay with that. But I mean, I liked her character. I liked that, you know, you just think, oh, she's like Poe's opinion, and then we find out that that's not actually right. But her sacrifice, if they could have flipped that and made that Leia, I think that would have been a really good, you know, good send off for Leia. So we'll have to see what they do. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with that character. So most of these things, I'm just kind of, seems like I'm complaining, I guess, but I'm trying to think, what can I talk about that I really did like? And it's difficult because there's things that I like, certain things, like the end with Luke, you know, pretty much I love that. They're, you know, I like the fact that I thought that was a good send off for Luke. I thought that where I would have liked to maybe see him like actually, you know, take out his lightsaber and kick some ass with that lightsaber. I like the fact that we got to see him do something so powerful that no Jedi has ever done and wasn't even expected. And that totally caught me off. I did not catch that he was projecting his image and everything. And the fact that not only did he project his image, but we got to see some new things with the Force, which I'm fine with. The only thing is, the more you add to that, the more powers you add to the Force, when you take away limitations, then it's just like all bets are off, and in some ways that can be a bad thing. But I like the fact that not only did he project his image, but he was able to bring something back. He brought the little dice and gave it to Leia. Did he give it to Leia? I'm trying to remember. I've only seen it once. I thought he gave it to Leia, but then in the end, or maybe at the end, Kylo picked it up. So whatever the case is, he was able to bring something, however small, a physical object across whatever space and time and everything, and do that. And we've never seen that before. And I think it was good that it was sort of a small thing, because it was anything like, but again, well, we've already learned from Yoda that size does not matter. So maybe if you can bring that, maybe you can, you know, drop a star, bring a Star Destroyer and just drop it on somebody or something. I don't know. So I don't know. These are just crazy things I'm thinking of right now. But I did like the ending with Luke and what he did, and yeah, that was great. That was not what I was expecting. So I like that. But hold on, we got more chats. Cody Green. Have you not seen the movie? Chewie does not die. Don't, yeah, Cody. This is spoiler free, so if you don't want to be spoiled, you may want to wait till you said you're going to see it tomorrow. You might want to jump off and then catch it on the replay, because I am talking about spoilers. So, but I will say that no, Chewie doesn't die. So, anyway, I'll kind of refrain from anything just in case he does want to jump back off, because I put spoilers in the thing. I really, you know, I did my best to avoid spoilers, and it's not easy because they started, even though hold on, I got to take a drink again. As soon as tickets went on sale, I bought them for like the first night, but that didn't, you know, because I just did not want to be spoiled. I want to see it as soon as I could, but that doesn't matter because they start screening for critics like a week in advance. And and when critics start seeing it, and when like test audience starts seeing it, that stuff gets out there, and I did not want to see, you know, any spoilers at all. So, so yeah, avoid that stuff. I don't really like giving away spoilers. I kind of needed to talk about some of this stuff, you know, just get some of it off my chest. So I'm just so, I don't know if the word's indecisive, but I still don't know how I feel about this movie. So, which that's why I guess I'm saying, you know, if I had to say, you know, when people ask me if I liked it, I might have to say no because that's not true either, because there's certain things I like. But it's not like Force Awakens or A New Hope or Empire, where to me there's not a whole lot I would have changed in those movies, and that's my opinion. I know it seems like a lot of people just think Force Awakens is just a remake of A New Hope. I don't really agree with that, but so here, I'm hoping this is dry enough because I'd like to actually color this thing in, and then I feel like I'm losing my voice. So it's been a while since I've done any of these live streams. So yeah, as far as Poe's like flight costume or whatever you call it, I can't tell if it's red or orange. I know, it seems like Luke's is a little more orange. Like in the original trilogy, they're more orange. And now they're a little redder, I think, but I still think it's like an orangish red. So I'm going to start with orange, and then I'll just gradually add some more into it. Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of people are having a similar reaction, but when I first, see, it just smudged. I don't know. I'm afraid I'm going to be really careful here. Yeah, really, when I do these things, I should sit and let it dry for a while, but you can't really do that in a live stream. So this would be weird if I start coloring it and then I just don't finish it, but I don't want to mess it up either. So I may have to, because it's going to be difficult for me to shade, because when I shade, I kind of don't pay much attention to these lines and stuff. So let's see here. Yeah, well, I'll do what I can here. Yeah, this thing is gonna smudge. Yeah, so I don't know, this is like a Kiritaki brush that I'm using here. And they're good brushes. They don't, or brush pens, they typically don't smudge, but you have to let them dry. And the nature of this, and I just don't want to like not finish it, and now that I've kind of started it, so I don't know. We'll see. If I get a really bad smudge, I'm just gonna freak out, and I'm just gonna, even though I'm not really attached to this drawing because it's not coming out exactly the way I want it to. But yeah, as far as people's reaction, like when I first came out of the movie, and I was talking to my brother, and he kind of had the same opinion I did, and my friend was, had a couple friends who were like, "Oh, that's the best Star Wars movie I saw," and then I went and, after I saw it, I went and wanted to see what other people's reactions were, and it seems like everyone was saying that it was like the best Star Wars movie ever, and now it seems like more that I've heard some more people that kind of agree with what I've been saying, but I don't know. I don't want to hate on it. I mean, this is Star Wars. I want to love it, and I went into this movie thinking that this was probably going to be the best Star Wars movie, and there's just so many things that just didn't work for me, and it's too bad, because there's so many things that I really liked about it too. So it's really weird. Like that. So for instance, another one is that, like, so that scene with where BB-8 was that there's like I don't know, it's like a ATST or something, I think, where it was like shooting at like stormtroopers inside the hangar and everything, and like, oh, who's that, and it ends up being BB-8, and that's another one of those things that I like cheered at when I saw it, and then I was like, well, I don't know about that either. But I don't know. And I guess there's no reason why BB-8 couldn't, it just, again, I think it boils down to a lot of that stuff just, again, reminds me of the prequels. It reminds me of all the stuff that, like R2, flying around and all that kind of stuff. And even though he never flew after that, and just that whole like droid factory thing and Attack of the Clones, and just a lot. It just so much of that just reminded me of Attack of the Clones, and so I don't know. So I mean, I guess if you're a prequel fan, you really like all those scenes. I guess we haven't talked about Benicio del Toro's character. That's one I've heard different opinions on. I heard a lot of people say, "Oh, I really like him." I don't. I like the character. I mean, I don't. That the whole storyline about finding this slicer or whatever, and the guy they were originally looking for, it wasn't that guy, but then ended up Benicio del Toro ended up kind of helping him out and everything. I like this character. So the stutter thing was weird. Was kind of. I know he likes to do these crazy acting choices and everything, kind of like he did with the Collector and the Guardians and everything. But I got the impression. Did anyone else get the impression that maybe he was sort of like an addict? That stutter wasn't just like a natural stutter that maybe just was an infliction, but that it was the cause of maybe being addicted to some kind of maybe death sticks or something, if you want to go back to that prequel reference. But I kind of got the idea that he was like an addict or something, and that's what was causing the stutter. I don't know if that was just me. I haven't heard anyone else say that. But yeah, no, I think I kind of like that character. I think if it went down a little bit differently, maybe just because that whole storyline I didn't care, but I like the fact that that could be like a throwback to sort of some of the stuff we saw in Empire with Lando. Sort of, I think Lando was in a different position where he didn't really want to turn on his friends, but he kind of like, I had no choice. Whereas this guy, he's just kind of like sort of in it for himself, and he sees the hypocrisy of everything, and he's like, hey, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna make my own way. So I did kind of like that, and I don't know, I'm curious if that's something that character will come back, and maybe next time around he'll help him out actually, because like you said, sometimes sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, whatever. I forgot exactly what he said, but I like that idea, and I like the idea of how that whole planet was sort of, they were sort of war profiteers, and that the execution didn't work for me. I like some of the ideas there. But as far as his character, I didn't really mind him. I think I kind of like that character. I just don't really know how necessary it was. A lot of that whole scene, I don't know how necessary it was, other than the fact with the way that it ended. And that's one of those things that I'm unsure about right now. So again, we're in spoiler territory. So the ending of The Last Jedi, we kind of pan to this kid who he met before, and I don't know, it was Finn or Rose. I think it was Rose that gave the kid a sort of a, I don't know, it was a ring or something, but it kind of had this hidden thing that shows that they're with the Resistance and everything, this symbol. And the kid had that ring, and it ends up that he was able to make this broom move, and he's force sensitive, which I like the idea that I mean, basically everything's gone, and that's the whole thing about Vader and the Emperor hunting down and killing all the Jedis, which I guess you can just continue to do that. But in my mind, there's always going to be people that are force sensitive, and maybe they won't be in a position to train new Jedis because there's no facilities or people to do that. But there's still going to be people out there with force sensitive powers. And I mean, how do you stop that unless you just, you find somebody as soon as they're born and just snuff them out, which maybe was the case. But I definitely like the fact that there's other people out there. I like that sort of message, and I like the fact that these kids that are, again, they're sort of like Rey, they're like nobodies, but they're, I like that. But it just seemed to me, it seemed like a weird way to end that. I don't know. I'm still kind of iffy about that. Yeah, so yeah, Abe, so you say The Force Awakens seems familiar and new. I agree. And I think one of the things that a lot of people say that, well, Rey's just kind of like Luke Skywalker. She lives on a desert planet and, you know, all that. And there's some similarities, but to me, I think they flipped a lot of things and they went the opposite direction. Like, whereas Luke, he wanted to get off Tatooine. He didn't want to be there. He wanted to go off and find adventure and excitement, and things that Jedis don't crave. But Rey, the opposite. She did not want to leave. She wanted to stay there. She thought her family was coming back. And so, whereas when Luke left, well, obviously he didn't have any ties because his aunt and uncle were murdered. but when Luke left Tatooine, he did not want to come back. Basically, when he did have to go back in Jedi, he was like, yeah, I used to live here. There's nothing here. I grew up here. So maybe I will be able to do this thing. It's not, I'm getting to the point, maybe it's getting a little drier, but I at least got most of that orange down. And I'll see if I can add a little more, make it a little more red, because I think it is more red than orange. But yeah, I thought there was plenty of different. I mean, the biggest criticism was Star Killer Base being too much like the Death Star, and I agree with that. I wish they would have done something a little different, some different kind of weapon or something. But if you think about it in like real world scenarios, if you're fighting force, if you're building planes, or if you're building tanks, or if you're building a certain weapon, I mean, I'm talking Earth right now, whatever weapons we use or whatever, if those weapons don't work or if they're destroyed, you're going to build another one. I mean, so really, when you think about it, why wouldn't they just keep trying to build Death Stars? I mean, sure, they blew up, but maybe try to build a better one. And it was different. I mean, I think they should have done something different, but it's not like it's stupid that they would keep trying to build, devastating, weapons like the Death Star. And so, I mean, to me, it doesn't, I don't know. It's not like one of those things where, it'd be cool if they did something different, but I don't really care that much about it. And I think the characters, there's a lot of different characters in it, and we got, I guess people can say that this character here, Poe, is sort of like maybe like the new Han Solo, but he's not Han Solo. I mean, he's different. He's a resistant fighter, and he's not like a scoundrel. He's not a ne'er-do-well or whatever. Like, he's kind of the hot shot guy. That, as we learn in this movie, doesn't always play out. And I really did like that angle. But we got characters we cared about, I think, more than we did in the prequels, at least in my opinion. And so I don't know. I'm a fan of Force Awakens, so I know not everyone is, but I said I would give my ranking. I don't know if of the movies. I don't know if I want to do that now or wait before I kind of sign off here. Let's see. I don't know how long the stream has been going for. I wasn't paying attention. But yeah, I'd like to. I did a couple live streams like this a while back, and I really enjoyed doing them. But I don't know. Sometimes it's like, because I'm just sitting here talking, and it's like, I don't know. If you've seen my videos, I try to have at least some structure to what I'm doing, and because when I talk, I just kind of ramble on and everything. So, But I wanted to talk about the films, but then when I start talking about like, what else did I want to say about it? Because in my head, it's like, oh, I got to talk about this, or I talk about this, and then I start talking about it, and then I forget things. But so let's see. I'm just trying to look at some reference here to get some of the colors down. I know there's probably some major things I haven't addressed. I should have made this. See, if I would have let people know that I was actually doing this, then I probably would have had more people like aware and in the chat, and then being able to ask more questions and like, oh, yeah, I can talk about that. So let me get another drink here. So yeah, I part of me is like, I don't know where this trilogy is going to go now. And part of me is like, it's not like after Force Awakens when I saw that, I'm like, oh man, I want this next episode to be here right now. This time it's different. I mean, I don't know. It just didn't, I mean, the ending, although I in some ways I liked it, I don't know that it's leading me to just like, oh, I got to see what's going to happen next. I mean, although, I mean, there's definitely, I mean, it's definitely impactful because, I mean, basically the Resistance is like nothing. There's like, they destroyed everything. Whereas before they were, I've heard the criticism like, well, you got rid of the Empire and everything. And then this First Order, they just, they kind of take over and they and then it's just back to the same thing again. First it was the First Order. I mean, first it was the Empire, and now it's the First Order. I mean, what did the stakes mean in the original trilogy? And first of all, you have to have conflict, or else you can't have a story. So, I mean, there's that. But you got to remember that there was peace for a good 30 years. I mean, the Empire was destroyed. It took a while for the First Order to come back. So, I mean, in some ways that is a victory. I mean, you've basically you stopped the Empire, and at least for a certain period of time, for a lot of kids or people that may have grown up after that, like, just like with Rey and her, when she hears about like Han Solo and Luke Skywalker, she's like, oh, I thought he was a legend, or oh, Han Solo, the Resistance fighter, the smuggler, or whatever. So I mean, there was a period of peace there, and that's something. But you got to have conflict, so obviously that can't last too long, So I don't think that there was like no stakes to what was done in the original trilogy. So let's see what else. I was just going to bring something else up, but so yeah. So here's something that I'm curious to know, and if you're watching this on a replay, leave a comment if anything I said, if you disagree with me or agree with me, or you think I'm nuts or whatever, leave a comment and let me know. I mean, everyone's got their own opinions. So, I mean, you don't have to be mean about it or anything, but if you disagree with me, let me know. I mean, if you love this movie, that's awesome. I mean, I wish I loved it more. I wish I was more happy about it than I am, but I do want to see it on the replay, and I'm just hoping on the second viewing, I'm like, okay, I any issues that I kind of had that maybe I have a difference of opinion on now, I don't know. So maybe I'll get a chance to see it again this weekend and take my son. But it wasn't like, but it's not like I'm rushing out to see it again, which is weird, because Force Awakens, I wanted to see it. I actually did see it. I saw it the first day it came out, and then the very next day I saw it again. So, yeah. Let's see. I don't know. Is this any dark? I don't know if this is any darker than the one I just used. Okay. So, well, I'm glad that the coloring is working out somewhat. Hold on 1 second. Hey, Keeman, how's it going? Yeah, we're just drawing Poe Dameron and talking Star Wars spoilers. So if you haven't seen The Last Jedi and you don't want to be spoiled, I've already talked about a bunch of stuff already, so I don't know how much more there is, but I guess what I was going to talk about was, so this idea that there's other people out there with force that are force sensitive, which I'm glad they kind of brought that up, but that was something I just already kind of assumed, you know. The only thing that I worry about, and I know a lot of people want to see sort of that Jedi Academy movie and the training and have all of the Jedis, but I don't know. To me, part of me kind of maybe wants to see that, but to me, I think Star Wars works best when it's just like one or maybe two Jedis. Because if you get too many, they're overpowered and everything. It's like, if you're a fan of the prequels, I can see that's one of the reasons why. Although it was kind of cool to see all those Jedis, when there's tons of Jedis, I don't know. To me, it like takes away from, just the fact that there's like, I don't know, just one or two Jedi. I don't know. Do you guys see what I'm saying? I'm not sure. I don't know. I just think it works better when there's like this one, where it's The Last Jedi and Return of the Jedi, and it's just, I like that idea. And if there's so many Jedis, I think that's gonna, to me, that's might take away from some things. Let's see. So we got these stripes here, but so I don't know, and I'm curious to see what I don't know what I guess the other thing that kind of worries me is because as far as Rian Johnson and Star Wars, I'm not totally sold. I mean, he brought a lot of really cool stuff to it, but now I don't know. It's like before I was like super excited. I wanted to see I was really interested in this next trilogy that he's going to do, and now it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. But maybe, I don't know. It's almost like if they were to do a separate trilogy and did whatever they wanted with it, I think I'd be okay with that more than this, which is sort of the third trilogy in the Skywalker saga. I assume it's considered the Skywalker saga. I mean, obviously Ben Solo is the lineage of Skywalker. We're kind of moving away with that now that we find that Rey is not a Skywalker, which again I'm fine with, but I don't know. I just think that there was. I just wish there was. I don't know. I wish there was more to. Well, okay, I don't wish there was more to it, but like I talked about in the beginning, I just wish they wouldn't have misdirected us and tried to like, aha, we got you, we got you, even though we kept alluding to the fact of who is this girl and, who are their parents, who's the girl and all this stuff, and that means nothing. We just tricked you. I don't like that. I mean, there's so many people that, and that's kind of what makes me think that there may have been other plans for Snoke. And with all these theories, they just said, we're just gonna. There's so many theories, or maybe their original theory. I'm thinking this might be the case, but maybe their original theory is one of these. One that was like end up being a super popular theory. Like maybe it was like some Dark Plagueis or whatever, one of these real popular, and you can't really, it's hard nowadays because there's so many people, everyone wants to theorize everything, that you can't really do too many big surprises. That's one of the things that I was hoping for, was some sort of reveal, and maybe that's too much to ask, but a reveal like, I am your father, or, obviously that's not what he said. And say, Luke, I am your father. No, I am your father, or whatever the line is. But there wasn't anything like that. Now there was a surprise, but you know, in the fact that they just killed off Snoke. But I'm thinking that that was not the original way they were planning. I think one of the theories that they maybe thought, well, I'll start. Maybe it is say it's. Let's just say they originally thought it was going to be Dark Plagueis or whatever, and then so many people theorized that, so they said, well, we can't do that now. So let's just you know, let's just show all these people that they're totally off base and that all your Snoke theories mean absolutely nothing because it, you know, we're just gonna off them. Which I don't mind that that part did surprise me, but it just didn't. Even though it surprised me, it didn't have that effect. That I just wish there was some sort of reveal, and it's almost impossible to do it because everyone's expecting that kind of stuff now, and everyone's theorizing all that. So maybe you just can't do that stuff anymore. Let's see. Oh, I got a color in BB-8, but I don't. Do I have any? I guess he's mostly like white and orange. So I'll just do a little bit of gray to kind of get that shadow. But I don't have. I guess there's a few references here. I'm liking a little better with this drawing a little better now that it's in color, but I still, oh man, that's the problem with drawing live. I can tell you right now that if I was not drawing this live, I would have, when I had that, I would have redone I would have probably scrapped it a while back and redone. I just don't like the likeness. To me, it doesn't look like Oscar Isaacs at all, but that's what happens when you draw live. So let's see what we got here. Let me get a drink. Yeah, everything's going good. Other than the fact that I wish I was more happy with the movie than I am. And maybe my expectations were too high. I don't know, but hold on a second. Okay. So what haven't I talked about yet? I don't know. There's so many things that I just wish. I'm hoping when I see a second viewing that I'll be like, okay, I'm over it now. I'm over some of my criticisms but I guess I should just be happy with there was a lot of cool stuff that I saw and here's the thing. Here's one thing I can say that was positive. I was thoroughly entertained with this movie. I mean, as I was watching it, I was cheering and I was like, oh, that's cool, that's cool. And then it get hit with something like, oh man, I don't like that. But I guess my hopes were too high because I guess I was just hoping that I for some reason I just had this feeling that I was going to go in and I was going to be like, oh my God, this is the best Star Wars movie ever, or this is up there with the best, and I wouldn't change a thing about it, or anything that I maybe dislike is just nitpicky stuff. But there was just too much in here that I wasn't feeling. So yeah, I don't know. Guys in the chat, people, have you guys? I assume you've seen it if you're listening to this. You know, you spoil everything, but what's your opinion on it? I mean, I know a lot of people like it, and a lot of people not just like it. I mean, I like it, but a lot of people just love it, and I'm just, what did you guys like about it? Was there anything that I said that was a criticism to me? Because everyone's different. I mean, like I said, I kind of grew up. I was there when Star Wars, the originals, first came out, and so, I maybe have different things hit me different than they maybe hit other people. Whereas I wanted to be more like the original Star Wars. Other people wanted to go somewhere different, and I can fully understand that. And I think a movie where, like Star Wars, I mean, a series like Star Wars, where it spans so many, you know, generations, and so many people have grown up with it from different parts, you're not going to be able to satisfy everyone. And, you know, and if there's way more people younger than me or whatever that just, you know, love everything about this and love the way it was done, I'm happy for them, because, you know, that means this story is going to live on. And I mean, I have my, you know, I have my original trilogy, you know, and I have Force Awakens, which I liked. Of course, as those characters, I kind of, you know, I may not agree with the direction everything goes with some of those characters or what I want to see, but, you know, I also liked Rogue One, and like Rogue One, when Rogue One came out, there are a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's the best. It's best Star Wars. It's best as Empire. It's better than Empire or whatever." I like Rogue One a lot, and I can see people's criticism with it, like some of the characters, but I think it's, you know, maybe they weren't as fleshed out as a lot of people, and some people said they didn't care about the characters. To me, I thought for what it was, because it was more sort of an ensemble movie, and it was a war movie, and for that type of story, I don't know that you need to get that deep into each one of the characters. I think they did good enough with each one, you know, just at least sort of an idea who most of these characters were. And again, that's something that they can go in deeper, and they have gone deeper in like the novels and comics and things like that. But I don't think it was like in this movie with, like, say, Snoke, where they just didn't give us anything. You know, they gave us enough about the characters to whether you care about them or not. I tend to care about the characters in Rogue One, but I just saw more of, you know, this is a group of people. It's not any one person's story. I mean, in some ways, it was more Jen's story than others, but I like Rogue One a lot. I mean, that's one of those. It has flaws. Okay, there are flaws in it. There are, like, you know, certain things narratively that may not make sense, but it's not enough for me to, like, oh, I would change this or I would change that. Whereas this movie, there's things that are like, I wish that this wasn't in the movie at all. So, all right, let's see what I can do here. I don't know if I can salvage this at all. He's kind of got a little bit of a 5 o'clock shadow. That helps a little bit, but I still don't think it's a good enough likeness. I don't know. I guess I'm not hating it too much, but I'm talking about the drawing here, not the, not the movie. All right, so almost getting ready to wrap this thing up. So I don't know, is this thing, I'm using a couple different markers here, so I don't know which is. All right, I need a brown marker. I took out most of these colors I thought I was going to need, but I didn't take out a brown for his hair. So let's do this. Let me float it here. See what we got. So yeah, I'm digging these chameleon markers here. I'm not really using them with the effects that they have where it can make different graduating tones. I'm just kind of using the markers just as markers. I don't know if his hair is black or brown. I'll try to make it darker if I can, but I'll start with brown. How about that? But I think the reason why it's weird, because when I did the last video I did was one about porgs, and that was before the movie came out. And I was like, oh, after I see the movie, I'll probably come back. I'll probably won't be wanting to draw all kinds of, you know, new characters and stuff. And I don't know, I just didn't. I guess I did. There weren't too many new characters that I was like, oh man, I got to draw this character. That's part of the problem. So, but I do like Poe. So I figured, well, you know what, I'll just draw Poe. Let's see. Okay. I think this will work. But, yeah, but I do. I like this character. The scene in the beginning. I love the beginning scene. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Revenge of the Sith, which out of the prequel movies, it's probably my favorite. So kind of that beginning scene. I love that. I did like that beginning scene in the opening scene in Revenge of the Sith with just that big battle where you pan down and then you just see all this chaos and all this stuff. And this one kind of reminded me, and that for whatever reason that didn't bother me, but the stuff on the casino planet that reminded me of Attack of the Clones did bother me quite a bit. So let's see. I don't know. So yeah, I think I'm getting close to finishing this guy up. Let me take another drink. All right, yeah, these long live streams, man, I get like parched from talking and stuff. So where's my black pencil here? Not pencil, but pen. Where'd it go? My marker. Oh, maybe it wasn't black. Maybe it's dark gray one. Yeah, that dude like BB-8's, BB-8, what? BB-8. His little camera lens thing here. I like his eye because it just looks like a kind of a photographic lens. But yeah, I'm getting ready to call this one done. But I did say, so I mentioned, so here's something you guys can tell me in the chat. This is something I'm always curious to know, how you guys rank the Star Wars movies. Because everyone's got their own, their own favorites, their own ones they don't care that as much about. So here's how I rank the Star Wars movies, and I think this could change. Sometimes it changes. The Last Jedi may change. It may move higher up on second viewing. So for me, it's kind of neck and neck. So Star Wars, I call it Star Wars. A New Hope. It was, but I still call it Star Wars because that's what it was when it came out. So A New Hope and Empire, I'd say they're like neck and neck. A lot of people most people will say Empire is the best Star Wars movie. Empire is great. I love it. They're almost a tie, but I have to go with A New Hope because that's the first movie. I mean, again, and it could be because I was there, I saw it in the theater. I was there when it first came out, and it just changed my world, and I had never seen anything like that before, and really haven't seen, I don't know if I've seen anything like it since. And it was my introduction to those characters, and so the original Star Wars, A New Hope, that's my favorite, probably my favorite movie of all time. Very like neck and neck, close second, Empire Strikes Back. Then I would go Force Awakens. I mean, again, I love that movie. Maybe it's because it made me feel like I felt when Star Wars first came out. So I put Force Awakens third. Then I'd probably go Rogue One. Then Jedi. Jedi's kind of like Last Jedi. I say Jedi. See, that's the problem. Before we just referred to Return of the Jedi as Jedi. You can't do that because you would say Empire, Jedi, Star Wars, Empire, Jedi. That's how you would refer to the movies back then. But now there's two with Jedi in the title, so I can't say Jedi anymore. So Return of the Jedi would be after Rogue One. So Return of the Jedi, I mean, to me, it's like there's things that I love the final battle between Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker and the Emperor and everything. I like some of the stuff in Jabba's palace and things. Some of the stuff on Endor, even with the speeder bikes, just certain things. But there's things that I don't like, and it's enough for me to like say I wish they could have done something differently there, or change it or whatever. So that's why Return of the Jedi is a little lower. And so after that, I would put The Last Jedi. So, I mean, The Last Jedi, you know, a lot of people say it's their favorite Star Wars movie. And I respect that if that's what you think. But for me, yeah, right now it's pretty low. It's just right above the prequels. And I think that's because it reminded me so much about the prequels. So yeah, so right now it's low. I'm hoping it can bump up on second viewing. It may bump up a little higher. I mean, maybe the two Jedi movies, Return and Last, they're pretty close as far as it's, you know. Then I would go. When you're going into the prequels, I go Revenge of the Sith. Then I go Phantom Menace, and then last but least is Attack of the Clones. So that's my order. So I'll just kind of go back over it. So for me, it's A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Force Awakens, Rogue One, Return of the Jedi, Last Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones. So let me know in the comment section how you rank your movies, or anything else you want to bring up about, you know, Star Wars, anything that you said that you think I'm crazy, or you agree with me, or whatever. Let me know in the comment section. And I want to thank everyone who chimed in on the chat. Hopefully I get to do some more of these, and maybe I'll let people know beforehand so we can get some more people in the chat and get some conversations going. Although it is kind of hard to draw and talk at the same time. So anyway, I am going to say goodbye, and I will see you guys later. Thanks for joining me. And if I don't talk to you guys, and if you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. Hopefully I will be having a Merry Christmas, but I will see you guys later. And yeah, that is all.